Hi, everyone. Welcome to Physical Literacy for All, Part 3. We made it to Part 3, and I hope that you've enjoyed Parts 1 and 2. And if you haven't watched them yet, that's okay if you start here and then go back to 2 or start at 1 and go all the way through. But you can find all of these recordings on the ERLC website, plus the slides as PDFs. So here we go. First of all, I just wanted to acknowledge that as citizens of Canada, wherever we are receiving this presentation, we are in and on the ancestral lands of the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. We respect and honor the Indigenous traditions and teachings that help make this country rich and diverse. And I'm coming to you from Kelowna, just outside of Kelowna, and I am on the traditional territory of the Sayilks people. In this session, in part 3, we're going to be learning about the stages of physical literacy. So 3 stages. We're going to also be looking at physical literacy environments and different settings where you can incorporate physical literacy. And then finally, I'm going to provide with you, like always, support for resources and programs and websites. So if this is your first time coming to one of my sessions, my name is Tracy Lockwood, and I am a physical education specialist, and I have been a teacher for over 25 years. I'm a consultant in the area of health and physical education, mostly in the area of physical literacy, physical education, and physical activity. I'm the owner of Play Education, and I'll share with you my website if you haven't seen it already. Maybe you have one of my resources or some of my resources. And I'm also the dance play operator in the Edmonton and Red Deer regions in Alberta, Canada. And I'm also the grassroots coordinator for the Athletics Alberta program called Mini Legends. I'm going to share with you a quick video. I just want you to take a look. Can you pick out all the fundamental movement skills? All right. Maybe those people just wanted to keep warm because it looked like a chilly day, but maybe it was just the fact that they were playing. They wanted to play in their day. And so my challenge to you is when you have those opportunities, do you play? Can you play? And you probably noticed a bunch of fundamental movement skills that were practiced during that. There was some hopping, there was some jumping, there was some twisting and turning and some balancing, even on the pose at the end. So there were lots of different fundamental movement skills that were practiced just in that video. And notice what can happen if you incorporate something that's novel, that's new. When you incorporate those things into your programs, into your schools, what happens? Do kids play? Do you maybe observe what they do? Anyways, we're going to get our brains moving, our bodies connected, and our brains connected to an activity called Flip a Coin Fitness. Now you can find this on the Play Education website. And here's how it works. I'm going to be flipping a coin. And this coin happens to have two of the same sides. So I have colored one side, Santa's hat, to, oops. So you can see that we have two different sides. All right, so I'm going to flip the coin, and then I'm going to let you know if it's heads, that's the colored hat, or if it's tails, that's the other side, non-colored hat. And whether it's heads or tails, you're going to do the activity to kind of get your brain and get your body engaged in the workshop or in the session today. Okay, here we go. Whoop. Physical literacy skills, here we go. It is heads. All right, so the first one, run on the spot. Ready, go. All right, here's another one. We're just going to do a few. Okay, the next one, it's heads again. All right, V crunches. Maybe you're not too sure what that is. And maybe you just want to do the low impact version. You can also do the both legs up version. Or you can just hold a V. The letter V. It's also called a boat pose in yoga. Okay, here we go. It is, oops. It is tails. Number 3 is tails. Hop on each foot. I'll tell you when to switch. Ready, go. Hop. It's 1 foot, remember? Can you keep going? Maybe you're just bouncing on 1 foot. That's okay too. Keep it nice and low. And switch. Other foot if you can. Can you get off the ground and balance as you hop? All right. Let's try 2 more. Okay. Oh, it is heads again. All right. Number 4 is front kicks. So you're just going to face whatever direction you want, and you're going to kick to the front. Can you try 1 foot then the other? 1 foot then the other? Good job. Keep going, keep going. Kick, kick, kick. You don't have to kick high. You can kick low if you want. All right, and let's try 1 more. Ready? And, oh, it's heads again. Keep getting heads. Okay, the next one is jumping jacks. Now, if you want to do low impact jumping jacks, just do this. Okay, or you can do just your arms, or full out jumping jacks. 3, 2, 1, and stop there. All right, you get the idea of Flip a Coin Fitness. Really fun. There's actually a blank one on the site where you can add your own, or your participants or your students can put in their own activities for heads and tails. I got this at the dollar store. I might have it later because it's actually chocolate. Okay, here we go. Physical literacy. Now, there are many definitions that I had mentioned before that are out there, but they all incorporate those really important pieces. So you can see from the Australian Institute of Sport, not the International Physical Literacy Association that I've shared before, a definition. This one's a little bit different. It's about building skills. We know that. It's about the knowledge. And they've added the behaviors that give us the confidence and motivation to lead active lives. So your choice which one you want to use, but you incorporate and keep the same components of the definition. All right, oops. These are the stages of physical literacy. And so you'll see that in this diagram, this is the long-term athlete development plan, and most sports and even grassroots sports and activities are incorporating, or they already have incorporated, a long-term athlete development or long-term development, not only in sport, but in physical activity. And so you can see that the bottom 3 that I've circled are the ones that we focus on with our elementary age students or our participants that are 0 to 12 years old or so, or around that age. And then from there, students or participants are choosing to either train to compete, or they're going all the way to the top, to the Olympics, high performance sport, or they're just going to be active for life. So we're going to get a little bit more into depth, but you'll see that this link will take you to a really great PDF of a booklet that has much more information about long-term development in sport and physical activity. So here, broken up into these different stages, you'll see the ages, and we're going to just dive into the top 3 a little bit more. So first, active start. Active start, like I said earlier, is from 0 to 6 years old. And these young children are engaged in daily physical active play. And it's through play and movement that they develop fundamental movement skills, and then they learn how to link those skills together. Some of the key concepts are active play is key at this stage, as it builds important connections with the brain and between the brain and with children's muscles. Opportunities for exploration of risk and limits, make sure they happen in safe environments. So that's with that active start stage. Also, unstructured access to a wide variety of colorful toys and equipment. Hence, some of the equipment that I use. This is actually a doggy toy. So some of the equipment that I use, that it's colorful, it's novel, kids love to play with it. And so that's through those primary years up to age 6. And activities should help children feel competent and comfortable participating in a variety of fun and challenging and non-competitive games. For children with a disability, access to age and disability appropriate adapted equipment is an important contributor to success. Some of the daily physical activities that children in this stage start with are catching, throwing, balancing, as you can see this baby doing, water activities, snow activities, jumping, and activities to get their heart rate up. Now, know that children at this age have smaller lungs, so they can't go as long. So their cardiovascular endurance is not as high or is not as long as an adult or an older child. So we need to give them lots and lots of breaks, lots of rest time. The active start stage, this is going to give you just a little bit more background into how much they should be playing with an adult, or how much it should be just free play. And some other basic descriptions of this stage. This, now that my children are adults, this stage reminds me of our puppy Benny, who needs active play every day. And so active play that's led, active play that's on his own. So it's really important, that movement. And I know when he hasn't had enough movement in the day, he's bugging me. So it's very important that we get our children moving every day, and 180 minutes per day is the recommended amount. And then fundamentals. So in the fundamental stage, this is our 6 to 9-year-olds. They develop fundamental movement skills in structured and unstructured environments. And the focus is on providing fun, inclusive, and multi-sport activities, and activities that are developmentally appropriate. The target is with children of these ages is 60 minutes spent vigorously or moderate to vigorous activity. But the target really still is 180 minutes a day, with that 60 minutes being moderate to vigorous. Activities should include significant time for repetition. So kids at this age are learning to develop those skills, so they need to practice them over and over. And they don't need a lot of correction. So minimal correction, just allow them to test their own limits safely. And then they'll improve on their abilities through experience. Emphasize the overall development of fundamental movement skills and the ABCs of athleticism or of activity. And the ABCs are agility, balance, and coordination. And develop skills by exposing them to a variety of environments. indoors and out, on the land, if they have access to ice and snow, in the air, or in the water. And then a mixture of, like I mentioned earlier, I believe, structured and unstructured play. And so here's more about this stage, including the percentages of activity time and free play and adult led, and then instruction. And the last stage that we're going to take a look at is the learn to train stage. These are our 9 to 12-year-olds. So they develop a wide range of fundamental movement skills, and they already have practiced and repeated them when they were younger. They hopefully have. And so these fundamental movement skills have been acquired. And participants in this stage, they learn to understand some basic rules, tactics, strategies in different games, and then refinement of certain sport-specific skills. They have opportunities to participate in multiple sports with competitions focused on skill development and retention, retaining them in that sport or retaining them in multiple sports. There's a lot of research that says that we shouldn't sport specialize until after this stage. Games and activities should be inclusive, fun, and skill-based. And at the end of the learn to train stage, I think this is really interesting, participants grow or progress towards sport excellence in the train to train stage, or being active for life, either by being competitive for life or just fit for life. And these children should have an average of 60 minutes minimum, a minimum of 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity a day, an hour a day. This is a period of accelerated development and lots of coordination and fine motor skill development. The use of physical literacy movement prep as part of the warm-up to support overall development of physical literacy is important. Now, that's a whole other PD called movement prep in warm-up, and it is based on some research around soccer players, and mostly women and girls in soccer tearing their ACLs in their knees. And so there's a lot of research to say that a really dynamic and an important part of activity is the warm-up. And so to prepare them for those warm-ups by doing lateral movements, cutting, ladder drills where you're jumping, shuffling, and acceleration with speed. And so there's a whole bunch of activities around movement prep. You can even type in movement preparation through warm-ups, and you'll be able to find and Google, some activities around that. Provide opportunities for every child to learn and play in this stage, and continue to encourage unstructured free play when it's time, when they're not doing structured activities. Ensure that sport and physical activity remains fun. And here's some more detail about this stage. You'll see there's a little bit more with training and competition, so a little bit more of the structured play and activity. You can always go back to that later. We're going to take a look at physical literacy in different settings. Students do spend much of their day in, especially school, learning, and sitting is very much a deficit when it comes to learning. So when there's kinesthetic movement in the classroom, and when we're teaching in a kinesthetic way, then our brains are turned on. There's more blood flow to the brain, thus having more attention, more focus, better at decision making, and so making it an important part of the day to get our kids moving. So when we look at physical literacy in the classroom, maybe this is physical literacy in small spaces if you're not a classroom teacher. But physical literacy in the classroom is a really important way to incorporate some fundamental movement skills, some moderate to vigorous activities, so you're getting their hearts pumping. And these are just some examples of things that you can do. So if you take a look at the noodles, you might have seen these pool noodles. And so you would take a pool noodle. You might have seen noodle poppers. You cut the pool noodle. So you have a disc like this. You cut the end off and you keep cutting. And then you cut that disc in half. And so you have noodle poppers. So you can play various activities where you try to pop noodles on backs, and you can maneuver and dodge and twist and turn. You can pop these into baskets or into hula hoops. And once you get one in, you go around the space. So there's lots of different things you can do with these. You can also do some popping and catching activities. All you have to do is lightly squeeze. Now I had some students in the past that had trouble doing this. So I put my thumb on one end, the student put their thumb on the other end, and we did it together. So they could see that it just slips out. You don't have to squeeze it really hard. And so playing a bunch of noodle activities is a really great way to incorporate something that's not going to, interfere with any paper that you have on the side or any bulletin boards in the classroom, and it's very soft to play with in a small space. This is a link to a gymnastics balance activity. All of the activities that you'll see on this really great A to Z PowerPoint presentation here that you can get for free. It's A to Z, so it incorporates a bunch of different fundamental movement skills all the way through. And so you can put this on the screen at the front, and your participants, your students, can try it out. This ball is showing you an example of a thumb ball activity. So if you type in thumb ball, you'll find a bunch of different providers that sell thumb balls that are already created. And I would just write on a ball some different activities. I got this at the dollar store. That's a very large tennis ball. And so you can just write a bunch of different activities on it, and you can play in a circle with participants in a circle, and you play a tossing or a striking activity or a soccer passing activity. And or maybe they have a hockey stick and they're passing the ball around. And so when it stops, they have to hold the ball, and wherever their thumb is, that's the activity they're doing. So maybe they're running on the spot, or maybe they're doing some fitness-based activity or skipping one lap of the area. The whole group in the circle has to do the thumb ball activity, not just the person that caught it. So that's just a really simple way to incorporate physical literacy in the classroom and keep it so that they are developing fundamental movement skills. The possibilities are endless. Physical literacy using sensory pathways. So here are some examples of indoors and out, where you can incorporate maybe different pathways that get students or participants moving in different ways, using upper body strength and lower body strength, where through crawling and hopping and jumping and balancing. So you can see some great examples here. And I'm also going to share a quick video with you, not the whole thing. And you can see another example. There we go. I'm sharing this link on the next slide so you can see it. Class.
And when I first started teaching, we sort of had that concept of everyone in a line walking down the hallway. You can't talk, you can't make any noise. So some of the teachers were concerned, I guess, about that if we let them sort of a concept of don't walk in the hallway, that we'd have kids running or yelling. Or what we find is the hallways are actually more orderly because the kids want to get through and jump through or hop through or skip through those patterns. So they line up and they go down the hallway almost better than I've ever seen it before. So it's just a really fun way for kids to get active at school, and the teachers seem to really like it as well.
All right, so that's an example of sensory pathways with Everactive Schools. If you go to everactive.org, they sell decals, and they're called Don't Walk in the Hallways. And so There's some great videos too that you can check out. So here is the link to that video. And if you check it out, it'll also take you to different ideas and Active for Life also has some decal ideas that you can incorporate. Your students and your participants could actually make their own decals. It doesn't have to be something that you purchase. They can make their own, and then you can change them up. Different classes can maybe make the decals for that season or that month, and then change them up, and another classroom contribute. All right, so how can we enhance our participants' physical literacy journey? My favorite part is to do some activity with you. And so we're going to do some activities. We're going to do 4. And the first one is all about non-locomotor skills. Now, you might have played this activity. It's called Tail Swipe. I found it on Twitter, and it's an oldie but a goodie. And so all you do is place the tail. Now you can use a juggling scarf, doesn't matter what you use, but you can use any one of these objects if you like. And you put it as a tail, and then you have all of the other participants also have a tail, and they're going to move around the space, and twisting and turning and dodging and stopping and starting. I always say no running, just because I'm doing this in a small space usually. So because we're in the classroom, or maybe you're in the hallway, but you could do this in a large space as well. And so they maneuver, they twist, they turn. If somebody pulls out their tail, they don't have any. That person gets it and they put it in. So they have 2. They can put it on the sides if they want, because I always say if somebody grabs a whole bunch of them, they only get to keep 1. Okay, that's my rule, but you don't have to have that rule. The other activity I'd play, if you don't want to have tails, you can have them drag it on the ground. And so in this way, you drag it on the ground, and if someone steps on your tail, if someone steps on it, you have to let go, and that person takes it, okay? And then they take it and they hang on to it. You can hold on in each hand, and you can move around with your tail, and then you get to collect as many as possible. Now, because I want to focus on inclusion, there's no elimination. So even if you don't have a tail in your hand, you still get to play. So you still get to try to steal and try to step on other tails. Okay. I'm using a scarf, and so you can use yarn. That will work just fine, or juggling scarves if you're doing the tail version like this. All right, that was a quick one. Let me share my screen again. Okay, next one is from the Mini Legends program. minilegends.ca, like I mentioned earlier, I am the grassroots coordinator for Athletics Alberta for the Mini Legends program. We come to schools. We actually do 1 to 5 day programs in all of Alberta. And so if you want a program at your school, we have a really awesome, it's called the Mini Legends Stadium. And we bring it to your school. We bring it to your location. We are actually at K-Days in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada over the summer, where we brought our equipment and we set up the Mini Legends Stadium, and participants can go through the activities. And in a case at a school, we would have kids come through during their physical education classes and try out the 7 different elements of kid-friendly track and field. And we also do Mini Legends games with them, which is more of a carnival type style, but all physical literacy based stations. And then we have lessons that we teach in physical education. So we teach running, jumping, throwing, and then so much more. So kids can run like a legend, jump like a legend, and throw like a legend by the time they're finished our program. So you can go to minilegends.ca and get more information. And then if you do contact on the website, it'll come straight to me. All right, so this is an activity called Stepping Stones Tag, and you can see how I set it up. Usually I have cones to make that nice rectangle, or you can make a oval like a track. And you have the participants in the middle, and notice that there's a couple of O's and some X's. So the O's are the its, and they hold a pool noodle, and they try to tag the other participants. And if you get tagged, you have to go around and do the obstacle course around the outside. I've set up a little obstacle course you'll be able to see, but I would use so much more equipment. For example, you could use hurdles, you can use skipping ropes for them to jump over or hop over or leap over. You can use hula hoops. You'll see the things that we have, balance, different balance domes. But with my limited equipment, I'll just share with you what I've done. And then they do one lap of the obstacle course, and then they come back in and play tag again. And you choose how you want the tag game to go. You can have a walking tag game. You could have them skipping and play tag. I like to do a walking tag game, and they walk as fast as possible because they're going to get very tired doing the hopping, jumping, and leaping when they get tagged. And I say to students or participants, everyone's going to get tagged eventually. Okay. Because, you know, the taggers are pretty legendary. So don't try to get tagged. It's all about being fair. You don't want to run towards the tagger to get tagged or walk fast towards them. You want to try to get away from them. That's the whole idea. But in order to kind of minimize that, I have them all try out the obstacle course first. So I have groups of 3 or 4, maybe 5 max, start at one of the obstacles around the course at one of the starting points. And that's where I'm going to show you right now so you can see. Okay, so I have them start. So here's a natural starting point right here. So a group will start here. Maybe you can't see it very well. Let me try that again. Okay. So maybe start here, another group will start here, and then so on. And I have them try it out. When I say go, they can all try it out, but I have to show them first, or maybe I have one participant showing them how to do it first. You don't have to demonstrate everything. Okay. So you play tag in the middle and walk really fast. If you get tagged, you go one lap. Wherever you start, that's where you stop. And I have my participants put their hand up, and out loud, they're going to repeat after me. I promise to only do one lap if I get tagged, when I get tagged. To only do one lap when I get tagged. Okay, you made a promise. Now you have to make sure you keep it. So, because of course they love the obstacle course, but they also love playing tag too. Okay, so just some ideas. I have lower cones for them to leap over or jump over. Remember, jumping is 2 feet to 2 feet, and hopping is 1 foot to the same foot, and leaping is 1 foot to the opposite foot. Okay, it's that weight transfer. And you can have little dots or spots where they can, you know, bound and jump on, and then you can have them even weave around some cones. I have a spot here that maybe you can have them pivot around. They have to pivot. They could pivot backwards. Maybe try with the other foot. Pivot, and then they can put it back down and keep going. So it's up to you what you want to do and what kind of skills that you want to incorporate. But there's the possibilities are really endless. You can do anything you want for the obstacle course, as long as it's safe, as long as they are trying different fundamental movement skills. You are good to go. So that's called the Stepping Stones Tag. All right, and this next one we're going to try together. It really focuses on object manipulation, but it's really fundamental movement skills as well, and some non-locomotion. and sorry, some locomotor moves and some non-locomotor moves. And so you might have seen this dance. This is called Dance Play. If you take a look at that site, you can contact me if you wanted to bring Dance Play to your area. If you're outside of Edmonton and Red Deer, Alberta, Canada, then you can still message me and then I'll get you to the right people. But Bounce Generation is a really great dance. If you want to go onto YouTube and type in Dance Play with a 3, because we follow 3 rules, you can take a look at YouTube and there are tons of dances. This is one of them that you can check out, but I'm going to try it with you. Okay. So let's get this music going.
Battery.
And I want you
90%.
to
Connected to
take your hand and I want you to get ready to dribble a basketball. Okay, here we go. Get ready. All right, dribble a basketball. Other hand, dribble, go.
Just bounce to this. Just bounce to this.
Awesome job. So that's called Bounce Generation. It's a really fun dance. We've incorporated some different fundamental movement skills, didn't we? That was awesome. So now I just want to share this back again so you can see these are the steps, really simple steps. Can you think of other fundamental movement skills that you can incorporate instead of dribbling a basketball? You know, maybe you're kicking a soccer ball. Maybe your students can help, or your participants can help create a different one where you are dribbling with your feet and you're doing some different foot movements instead. Okay. Good job, everybody. Okay, and I'm going to share with you one last activity. This one is from Focus on Fundamentals. I've shared this with you before. If you don't have this resource, head to playeducation.ca and you can purchase the digital or this recipe card style if you want. And so this activity is in the locomotor skills section, but really there's like a lot of different fundamental movement skills here. So it's called Healthy Habits, and it's a tiered activity. Okay, so we start pretty basic and then we add and then we add. So there's at least 3 tiers, and there could be 4 if you change it up. Okay, so let me share with you what that activity looks like. Okay, so you'll see my play space that's not quite ready yet, but you're going to have a basket of objects. They're the healthy food pieces. Okay, so I actually have some healthy food, but it's fake broccoli and some fake kiwi, but it doesn't matter. You can have bean bags. It doesn't matter what you have in there. You can have those noodle poppers that we talked about before and place them in the middle. I even got some small bowling pins from the dollar store. Anyways, we're going to put those in the middle, and we're going to split our area in half. So I'm going to use these dots to just show that there's one side, or no, sorry, we're not going to put these in the middle. Each group is going to have their own basket. Okay, so this side has a basket, and this side has one basket of stuff too. Okay, and so I don't have a basket, another basket, so I have a bag of stuff. You can put it in a hula hoop. It doesn't have to be in a basket, but I have a bunch of that stuff in there too. Okay, so split your area in half. Have one group on one side, other group on the other side. And all you're going to do is when you say go, they're going to run to the other side, collect an object, and bring it back. Put it in their bucket. Now, there's no tagging. And we're, like I mentioned, we're doing tiers. So we start simple. All they're doing is moving back and forth, but they need to watch out for each other, okay? They need to, so that's why I like to have a bigger, maybe a bigger hoop. You can even have 2 hoops and have the equipment split up so they're not all running to the same spot. Just keep safety in mind, okay? How many, depends on how many participants or students you have. All right, they're gonna go back and forth, keep going, collect, keep collecting, and then when you say freeze, then they're gonna count them up. See how many they have, okay? Now, you can try it again. You can try to see if you can do it again and have more next time. Or you can incorporate level 2. Level 2 is where you have a tagger on each team. You can have 2 taggers, 1 tagger, depends on how many players you have. So the tagger, if somebody comes into my area, my side, and they're trying to steal out of my bucket, I can tag them. But like students or participants will say, there's no puppy guarding, so you have to maybe make an area where they can't go close to their bucket because you don't want them to be just hovering around it and they can't steal any. So just have them like be around, okay? And then you get tagged, you have to go back. If you get tagged with a piece of, healthy food, if you get tagged while you're traveling back, and you're still on the other team's side, you have to put it back before you go back to your side, okay? So it's just a constant tag activity. Change taggers after a little while, and then keep going. I would say that you have an area here cordoned off so that when they run to it, it's much bigger than what I'm making, but when they run to this area and they go here and they make it to get something, they're safe in this area. And then, because they can't get tagged here, and then when they leave, they can get tagged if they come out. Okay, so that is level 2. There's 3 levels to this activity. Level 3 is where you incorporate some junk food, some unhealthy food, I would say. Some food that we would maybe least want our students or least want ourselves to eat. Okay, more sugar food. You can talk about what food that is, but you incorporate that food. And so if there's now, while we play tag, while we're trying to take the healthy food and bring it back to our team, you are going to have a bunch of the junk food. Maybe you don't call it junk food. It's up to you, whatever you want, whatever you call it. But if it's on your side, you have to get rid of it by throwing it to the other side in the open space. Not throwing at your friends, not throwing at the other team, throwing it into the open space so they can't get it. You, at the end of the game, you don't want to have this junk food on your side, or unhealthy food. You don't want to have the least eaten food. You don't want to have that on your side. And you also want to have the most healthy food on your side. Okay, so that's called healthy habits. And it's made up into 3 different tiers. And you could start with tier 1. You could then move on to tier 2 in the next class, or you could do tier 1 and tier 2 in one class and one lesson. And then you add the next tier for the next time. There's that idea of when that fundamental stage and the learn to train stage, the older students or older participants, they like repetition. So doing that activity again, having them practice it will help them feel more successful. And you can add on to it. For younger participants, I would only do maybe tier 1 and tier 2. Maybe you don't add the food until much, much later, or the junk food till much later, or maybe you don't at all. It's up to you. Here are a few extra resources. I always like to share some extras. If you are into listening to podcasts, it's the only way that I like to go for hikes and walks. So listen to a really great podcast and just put it on and just engage my brain while I'm in nature. Or, just while I'm driving. It's really great to kind of take that learning in, or self-reflection. And so this one is a physical literacy podcast. And if you go to that site, you'll see that there's some other podcasts listed below. There's some really big players in physical literacy, like Dr. Dean Dudley and Dr. Dean, I don't know why they're all named Dean, but Dr. Dean Krulars and Margaret Whitehead. So you'll see some great podcasts. If you haven't downloaded this maximum engagement in games and activities, is called the Mega Resource, and it has so many different fundamental movement skill activities in it, and it's awesome. So you'll see it's broken up into non-locomotor, locomotor, and manipulative. So take a look at it's made by Pisces, and they are on the West Coast in Canada. And then there are some great resources from the Australian government, AIS. So take a look at those resources if you want to get some more information. And for those of you who maybe don't remember from the last sessions that I've done, what play education is all about. Professional development. I would love to come to your location and do some in-person PD, and maybe one of my instructors can would be coming to your school soon. I have lots and lots of bookings, especially in the winter and spring, and for dance play. And there are some great resources on my website. So if you just take a look there, you'll get to all of these 4 areas really quickly. And then physical education and physical literacy mentorship and training. Playeducation.ca is the site. Thank you again. And I really hope you're having a fantastic day. And I hope that you got moving and got your brain engaged and your body moving so you can enjoy the rest of your day. You can reach me. Here's my email, and on social media, and then my website. So take care, everybody.